and lead and lead and remain leading. We must allow leaders to come and go. And that is the culture we are beginning to implement in the party, starting with our constitutional provisions to change, to make sure that we align it to that requirement. This will also cascade to members of parliament and councillors. People must be able to say and live. Nobody is supposed to be there for life. We must all be able to say, you do your best and you live. That's what democracy is all about. So that's the first fundamental change that's going to be implemented. The second one is the changing of the MDC from a top-down political party in terms of structures. We are strengthening our grassroots structures to make the party more effective in elections by making sure that we strengthen branches. So instead of having strong wards and districts, we're going to have strong branches. Every polling station has to be a branch for the MDC. And all leaders are going to be deployed. Even if you are to be a president, you must be deployed from a branch. If you are to be MP, you must be elected at a branch. If you are to be a councillor, you are elected at a branch. If you are to be promoted to be a minister, very soon when we then appoint our cabinet in a new government, you have to come from a branch. The branch chairperson has to give a recommendation to say you are in good standing if you are coming from the political party structures, unless if you are coming from the technocratic side or those who are experts or who have particular skill. The party is also going to revert to a single vice president as opposed to 3 vice presidents. There's no need for us to have 3 vice presidents. We need 1 vice president. That will also kick in at the next Congress. We have also introduced key reforms around honoring and respecting our liberation struggle veterans, our freedom fighters. So there's going to be a representation of what is called the Freedom Fighters Council, who are liberation war heroes, comrades. I wish Comrade Matema Danda would also appreciate that his position is there. He should not belong to a political party like ZANU-PF. If he is to be complete as a liberation war hero, they must be in all parties because they are non-partisan. So we want them to be represented, and we have a slot for them in the National Executive, also chosen by war veterans themselves. So we're going to deepen our representation of liberation war heroes so that they also have an articulation of their interests. We are also broadening to have a disability council. People living with disability are going to be represented, so that council is also going to be there as an addition. We have introduced the chaplains, basically a spiritual superintendent who deals with our issues, especially counseling. After elections, people get disappointed, they need counseling in-house. They must be prayed for so that they are able to heal. If there's violence in the country, there has to be healing, those who are sick. And this is a party development. I know that in the ANC they have this at national level and the provincial level. It's also an introduction that was put in place. I must also add that we are going to be introducing a very important organ, which is the independent electoral body within the party that runs elections at all levels. We are no longer going to have elections being supervised or run internally. They will be run by an independent electoral board whose mandate and function has been clearly articulated. Apart from that, we are also going to introduce the issue of a cabinet. Ours is not a shadow cabinet, but an alternative cabinet, because we believe and we know that the one that is there is not the real cabinet. If it was a real cabinet, we would have a shadow cabinet, but we don't have a real cabinet because of legitimacy issues. So we are going to have an alternative cabinet, which is a very mean and lean cabinet. What we have done at national council level is portfolio secretaries for the party. I've seen the confusion in the media that this is the cabinet. And this is not the cabinet. The cabinet is going to come at the appropriate moment very soon. What we have had are portfolio secretaries who are the key leaders who run the various functions and portfolios. Yes, the Congress did a lot of work around the trajectory to deal with the problem. We are going to introduce a new document called Reload, which is the Return to Legitimacy and Democracy document. This document is going to come very soon. It has already been completed. It articulates the roadmap to the restoration of democracy. I'll articulate to you and underscore what the various stages are as we go to a new Zimbabwe, and as we run the issue of coming to a new Zimbabwe. We are going to launch this document, Comrade Secretary General, in a few weeks' time to be launching this document. But just to indicate to you that for us, the resolution of the crisis in Zimbabwe is based on 5 stages and 5 steps. The first one, there has to be political pressure and diplomatic pressure to bring to bear Mr. Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF to understand the importance of locating exit points to the crisis we are facing. Upon having that dialogue, we need that pressure. We need to have the second stage, which is dialogue. And that dialogue, we've said, it has to be inclusive. That dialogue has to be credible, and there must be an independent, credible convener. Not this situation where you have monologue, people who are in agreement, coming together to say they are dialoguing. They are not dialogue. It's a choir. And President Mnangagwa wants to be the choir master. No, we don't need a choir. We need dialogue. And that dialogue has to be between ourselves and ZANU-PF to begin with. Then, of course, invite others who may need to be there. The third issue is to have now a transitional mechanism, which is to then superintend on the process of transitioning our country. We have had failed transitions in this country. 1980 was a failed transition, 87 Unit Accord, failed transition, GNU failed transition. We need a successful transition to democracy and to legitimacy, strengthening the institutions of governance in this country. That is only possible if we and when we deal with the issue of a transitional mechanism. The fourth issue is a comprehensive reform agenda, which has to do with electoral reforms, political reforms, constitutional reforms, economic reforms. This whole thing of Mr. Mnangagwa thinking that he can just go to Parliament, railroad his own views as reforms. That's not adequate. We are going to have proper, inclusive, nationally driven reforms, not these Mickey Mouse games that they are playing in Parliament. We want to agree on what should be the content, substance, and nature, character of the reforms that are going to be implemented. At this moment, MOPA, POSA, whatever they call it, is inadequate and is all being motivated by a partisan approach. Even the electoral reforms, they are not adequate. We want deep reforms that respect what the International Observer Mission said in terms of the NDIRI, Commonwealth, EU, SADC, AU. That must all be the basis of those reforms. So that comprehensive reform agenda is very important. Last but not least is then paving way for proper elections, free and fair elections that are credible. Without this ZEC, clearly the current ZEC is not fit for purpose. They have failed to do what has to be done in terms of running elections in this country, and they can't be able to superintend over elections. They are a referee who chooses to throw away the whistle and join the other team, and for that reason they are not competent to execute the mandate. So those are the stages that we would want to see being put in place. Now, in the context of that, we must strengthen our party, and for our party to be strong, we need to make sure that we make certain key appointments which were made by the National Council. The first one is the independent tribunal. As you may know, in the constitution of the NDC, once there is a problem of a National Standing Committee member who is stubborn or who is delinquent, they are supposed to be dealt with through what is called an independent tribunal, like what we did with Madam Coupe and other such people. That body has to have 3 people who are legal practitioners, 1 qualified to be a judge. So the appointments that were made by the National Council in terms of Article 12.1 are as follows: Harrison Gomo to chair, Advocate Magwe, and Advocate Esimbo. It's not Timbo, it's Esimbo. So you must be very clear there. To be in the independent body. These are all lawyers. There's also the appointment of auditors. In terms of the Constitution, we must have our books audited, and we have to do things in a better fashion, not to be like ZANU-PF. We've never had that they audited, their books. So yes, we appointed our auditors, and this there are 3 audit firms that have been nominated. I will not mention them, but it's very important for you to note that that has been done. Then there's also the appointment of the appeals tribunal. Now, if you have any queries or concerns, because we've also introduced in the party constitution the fact that nobody is allowed to take the party to court until we have exhausted domestic remedy. You still have your constitutional rights, your political rights in terms of the constitution to go to court. But if you take the party to court without exhausting domestic remedies, we take issue with you and we will expel you. So we've created, and it has always been there, but we are strengthening the appeals tribunal to be there as a domestic remedy platform or mechanism for those who may have complaints, grievances, or even dispute around interpretation of the Constitution. This one is going to be chaired by Chris Mike, and members of that include Alec Nchadahama, Dorothy Paspanojika, Obey Shawa, Regina Mabwe, Nyasha Timba, Godfrey Nyon, and James Nyamuda. These are members of the appeals tribunal. We've also made appointments, which is the last of my address to you. We have made appointments to the Standing Committee and also the National Executive in terms of what is required by the Constitution. You know that we had our Secretary General elected, Comrade Charlton Wende, so he's going to be deputized by very competent people. In fact, I didn't see the Deputy Secretary General. Okay. Oh, she's there. Because there are two offices that we are specifically going to strengthen: the organizing office and the administration office. We've said these two offices are so key that we are going to put 2 deputies for each. So in the office of the Secretary General, there's going to be 2 deputies. One, Honorable Consilia Chinanzowana, one of our very long-standing members from Mashonaland West. She's a member of Parliament. She's going to be the Deputy Secretary, together with Jameson Timber, who is also one of our key members, a competent administrator to help our Secretary General in terms of making sure that we revolutionize our offices. As you can see, Harvest House is going to be a different building very soon. We don't want you to come to Harvest House and not have coffee and tea. We want you to come and also be taken to the boardroom, not the bedroom, of the President, so that you can also enjoy it as journalists. So yes, we are sprucing up the image of our building, but also even our structure systems. Cards have to be electronic. A raft of measures are going to be introduced to make sure that we change our administration. Then, in terms of Treasury, you know that Deputy Coordinator, the Treasurer, is going to be deputized. On this one, is going to be deputized by a woman who is a senator, Senator Lillian Timbios Akropo, is going to be deputizing Deputy Coordinator. Why are we doing this? We are making sure that we are gender sensitive. In fact, all our deployments, we don't just pay lip service to gender issues. We have to make sure that things are done in a proper manner and function. We have organizing secretary, Amos Chibaya, who is our national organizing secretary. We have the 2 deputies for Comrade Chibaya, Mochi Ziwa, and Sibusiso Buda Masara. Then, of course, our spokesperson, with a new spokesperson, who is an MP by the name Daniel Molokele, deputized by Comrade Luke. You can take a seat. You must not be standing. It doesn't mean that when you yeah, but I think you have not been appropriately oriented. You must take a seat. Even if you are in a standing committee, you don't stay. Then Secretary for Elections, Councillor Jacob Mafume, he was our spokesperson, is now going to be working on the core business of the party, which is elections. So he's going to be the head, deputized by Helen Shiriedenga. Then there's a key function on planning and strategy, which is under the Presidential Affairs. It's going to be headed by Senator Morgan Komichi, and also deputized by Honorable Maurice Zuzwai. Secretary for Policy and Research, Honorable Tatua Mashakada, deputized by Honorable Miriam Shai. Secretary for International Relations, yes, a young lady, Dr. Gladys Satswai, is going to be head that one. Deputized by none other than our former Secretary General, Honorable Douglas Togarase Monzora. Now, I heard a lot of people saying, no, Monzora has been demoted. We had the election, and there was an outcome to that election. What we've done is to say, Comrade Monzora has to continue to be safe, particularly in the leadership of the party, which is something that is not common in political parties, like ZANU-PF and other such vindictive parties. For us, we believe that we have to work together, and we must be able to unite people going forward. So, yes, Comrade Monzora is going to serve there. Engineer Elias Mzuri, Secretary for Local Government, his experience and expertise in local government is very key and valuable for us to make sure that we are delivering on the smart agenda. As you know, we can't afford just to criticize ZANU-PF and to be anti-ZANU-PF. People have to vote for us and believe in us for what we stand for. So we must turn cities and towns into centers of excellence, and that role is going to be carried out by Engineer Mzuri, deputized by Clifford Sasiwan. We also have other various portfolio secretaries. I don't think I need to go through all of them, because I will really spend a lot of your time unnecessarily, but key ones, Cecil Desire Secretary for Projects, livelihoods, because we are now focusing into the rural areas. We are no longer just going to be talking change. We must deliver change and show that in the rural areas, our rural strategy, we're already doing projects, we're already helping people, because we are a serious government, more serious than the one that is outgoing. So we have to show that, yes, in everything we do, we are emphasizing our seriousness. Some of the appointments we have made, people like, Fadzai Mahere. Now, a lot of people I've seen a lot of things flying around. Fadzai Mahere decided to join the party some time ago after our discussions, because we are also reaching out to young Zimbabweans who are able to contribute. Ours is a broad tent. Ours is an inclusive tent. So we want to make sure that whoever has talent, let them come on board. Experts, activists, trade union leaders, they have to be part of what we believe to be the big bus and revolutionary train to a new Zimbabwe. So we're happy that Comrade Mahere, advocate, is now part of us, and she's going to be heading the Sector for Education, Sports, Arts and Culture portfolio. We have Rast Makam, our MP, being in charge of lands and agriculture. Comrade Ngewani, the former president of ZCTU, is going to be in charge of cadreship development and training, because our emphasis is going to be, leadership development, deploying our people to competence, and building our capacities. We also have intelligence. We don't want witnesses in the party. We want intelligence. We must know what our opponents are planning before they plan anything. So yes, Comrade Machingauta is going to be in charge of that. Mr. Emmanuel Chumwanda, former assistant inspector, is going to be in charge of defense and security. We've been working with him for a long time. He was a police commissioner, assistant police commissioner, not a police commissioner. Yes, he's now going to be heading our defense and security. We have all other names: Gole Sekuma, legal affairs, Brian Dube, deputizing. I could go on, but suffice to say, these are the lists, and we now have a full complement for our national executive. The committee members from the various provinces, we are going to make the announcement and put it out for purposes of those who may want to see, those who are from provinces. So we're going to put it on the website. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I was trying to shorten a very long presentation this morning. And again, our apologies. You know, we've been hit by bereavement after bereavement. We lost Mr. Msumbu, our former MP, for Norton constituents, who is going to be buried in Manikaland. So we've deployed other leaders to go there and accompany the family. We just said to pay our respects to the comrade. So yes, thank you very much, leadership. I think that does it for what we have, unless if there are any questions, clarifications, or additions from you, our colleagues. But thank you very much for coming, and God bless you.
Yes, questions?
Okay, President, you mentioned about the Freedom Fighters Council. Maybe we want to know who is in the Freedom Fighters Council or who chairs the council.
Well, I've deliberately left it out because our respectable and honorable war veterans have requested to also have their own meeting across the whole country. Mind you, these are going to be representing our war veterans, so they need to have their own meeting to consult on who is going to be the representative. So we sought the condonation of the National Council to say when the names are provided, we then avail. But fighters as our tribute to the liberation struggle, because our struggle is built on the basis and foundation of the liberation struggle, ideal. Some of them which were hijacked, and also a lot of them are disappointed because ZANU-PF is no longer the revolutionary vehicle. The new revolutionary vehicle in this country is the MDC. We represent the aspirations and ideals of the leaders of the liberation struggle. So we want to honor them in a special way, because our government is going to prioritize their welfare. Our government is going to prioritize their well-being. Most of them are still struggling with their pensions, struggling with their education, medical facilities, and this is not the way you treat your... So the standing committee has not been expanded, but the standing committee has been strengthened. So we've strengthened the standing committee to make sure that we deliver in terms of our goal. You can see that we also strengthened the office of the Secretary General and also the office of organizing, because we mean serious business. The task at hand is so big. Zimbabweans want an answer from us, and we have to provide that answer in terms of leadership. That's why we've said, now that the Congress is gone, we've closed and shut the doors of Congress. The next focus now is to provide leadership to the people of Zimbabwe, to liberate ourselves, but also to bring freedom to this country.
Yes.
At the Morgan Tsvangirai Memorial in Manikwa, you spoke on 3 vice presidents, saying there was nothing amiss with the structure.
Sure.
What has inspired the change of approach?
Well, the change of our approach is not necessarily to do with the structure being out of place, but it is just to make sure that we are also strengthening, certain offices, especially the issue of our original and founding values was predicated on one vice president. We just thought that we needed to go back to that, and there was wisdom in that, and we always review and assess. This one is on a trial basis to see how it's going to function. We have 3 vice presidents. I want to see how tenable that structure is. You know that this is not something peculiar to the MDC. If you go to ZCT, they even have four vice presidents. But this is a non-political organization. You go to social democratic parties in the Scandinavian countries, in Europe. We will continue to do that. We want to see more. We know that ZANU-PF has been chasing away people. We want them to come to the party. We chlorinate them so that they are fit for purpose, and then we move on. We don't just take people because some of them are contaminated, in terms of their politics. Thank you.
Anyone still with a burning question? Yes,
Yeah.
the very last question. Yes.
Mr. President, I heard you saying you shall force Mr. Mnangagwa to come for a dialogue. My own analysis, Mr. Mnangagwa is not an easy person to push to the corner. What force shall you imply?
I think your analysis is false. He said he's as soft as wool.
I'm saying he's not a soft person to push to the corner.
But I'm saying he said he's as soft as wool. So we'll count on that softness. And he will come to the negotiating table. I mean, you know Mugabe used to say people sitting under a tree cannot force me to write a constitution. But he ended up writing the constitution. Politicians have a tendency of saying, words that they don't even believe. And we are not that type of politicians. Those are the politicians who want to make sure that we bring to the negotiating table, so that they understand. Is it the best interest of Mr. Mnangagwa for this country to be stable? What does he want to leave as a legacy for the people, for the coming generation? That he had to drive the country into a dungeon through being stubborn and intransigent. That's why we are asking for the breeze of wisdom to blow across his face and visit his mind. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, members of the 40 states. I think next time we'll be able to give you that receipt to the president boardroom for coffee. But for now, thank you very much for turning out the
very experienced woman from Mashonaland province. I've worked with her when I was still working in Mashonaland province. So I'm satisfied. We are satisfied with all the people that have been appointed. It's a strong team, and we believe that very soon we are going to deliver the real change that we aspire.
Lastly, what are the quick gains that the MDC is looking to get just immediately after Congress?
Definitely the key point is that we need to resolve the political crisis, as the President has alluded. So we'll be focusing more on forcing the government to dialogue. We need to resolve this country. Our people are suffering. The economic situation is biting everybody. So this will be our major political activity going forward. So the resolution of the national crisis is our number one priority going forward.
Well, thank you, and wish you the best.
Thank you very much.